What are the Pelicans doing? Not that it is a chief story, but what are the Pelicans doing? The Pelicans have not been a relevant franchise their entire time in the league. They have spoiled and soured whatever it is that Zion Williamson was supposed to be. And one of their best runs in terms of leadership is when David Griffin brought his credibility there, and he has since been fired. Stan Van Gundy also gone. Don't know what that franchise is doing. Don't know if anyone cares.
I mean, look, Joe Dumars comes in, and he's got an edict to kind of like fix this thing, but not trade Zion, I guess, because he's come in and he's kind of thrown his support behind Zion Williamson. And draft day, let me just say, put it this way. It was confusing trying to figure out what they were trying to do on draft day because, for one, they gave up a lot, I felt, to move up to the 10 pick, to the pick where they took Derik Queen, right? Which, it's not lost upon me. That name is incredibly close to Derik Queen. But they gave up an unprotected first-round pick next year, which is a very, very bold statement, right? In the NBA, when you trade your unprotected future first-round pick for any future.
And you're bad.
Well, let's just say any future, no matter who you are. The bet you're saying is, I bet you this guy is going to be so good, it won't even matter. By the time that pick happens, it'll be something that we're okay with giving up with because this guy is so good. But the Pelicans are awful. They don't have an identity. They're in flux. The roster isn't clear. And they traded next year's first-round pick. So, in essence, you're basically saying, oh, no, right now, this pick right now is going to change everything. So then you say, okay, well, who'd you got? You got Cooper Flagg, right? You got like a transformational player. You got Derik Queen, a guy who a lot of people like, has a lot of talent, but kind of if you read the scouting report, it's almost like we're talking about Zion Williamson. Hey, conditioning is an issue. Hey, he's really skilled, but is he a 4? Is he a 5? Everything you see about him is like, wait a second, we already have one of those. So now we got two guys who we don't know what position they play, and they can't shoot well enough, and they're the conditioning's an issue, and we're betting that right away it's going to be perfect. This pick isn't going to be any good to where unprotected status is an issue.
You figured that if they would have offered protection status on the pick, Atlanta still would have said yes at some point, right? And you look at Derik Queen and what he's able to provide.
It really does sound
that's
like
crazy.
Queen.
Yeah,
it really does.
DQ, can I call him DQ? Does that work?
Kind of hungry right now.
Derik Queen has to sponsor the Pelicans, has to sponsor.
I have no choice.
I want other names in sports that give off restaurants. I'll get back to you.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one, Chris.
You look at his skill set, though, and it's basically just a less athletic Zion Williamson. So now you've got Derik Queen running out there, and you've got Zion Williamson who wants Derik Queen running out there at the same time. The spacing is going to be weird. They both kind of can't shoot. The team is weird in general, and then you give up probably the most coveted asset of the next year's draft for spots from 23 to 13 to pick a guy who you have already, and then you're going to trade Zion Williamson this year?
Derik Queen playing at the Smoothie King Center.
Oh, boy.
Synchronicity. I mean, it's perfect. He has no choice.
Can I ask a question here? If the most interesting story from your draft is about the Pelicans, you had an uninteresting draft, right?
No, the most interesting story, that the mainstream people talk about. Cooper Flagg went 1. Wow, that's amazing. And then
Ace Bailey's a good story.
Ace Bailey going to the Jazz despite him not wanting to go to the Jazz. I mean, there are other things, but Dan asked me a basketball question. I answered a basketball guy.
I did ask you that question because I am trying to figure out, again, 3 shows in 24 hours, and I'm explaining to the audience why it is that I'm not as informed as I need to be on the NBA draft. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that the draft in general, all the drafts, are meat markets that I find a bit offensive on how it is the owners figure out how to control themselves by fixing the costs and then just turning these all into auctions. Don't like them as entertainment, and don't like the information that comes out after them because so many people are guessing. But more so than ever in basketball, when I got all these people telling me how good the Heat's draft pick is, when so many of us have not watched the Heat's draft pick, and I just asked Amin, before the show, how do I pronounce this person's name, and didn't have confidence in the way he pronounced it.
No, I pronounced it
Yakuchunas.
right.
Again, I'm not blaming you. You got it right.
Yeah.
You got it right. I didn't have confidence in the way that you pronounced it. But as we go all over the world now, something that was already subjective becomes this, okay? Because I know Bill Simmons is saying the Pelicans making that pick, that's one of the 5 dumbest trades of this decade. But Jake Fisher is getting roasted because after the Blazers picked Yang Hansen from China, a Nugget source texted me, Chinese Jokic.
They took him out of the stands, Dan. He was in the stands with the commoners. They didn't even put him on the floor. He walked out with his white suit on.
I'm saying if it was unknown before, that if the draft was a subjective stupidity before that confounds even the executives who run the Pelicans and the executives who get fired for this subjective thing that we treat as science, how much more arbitrary is it now that you're grabbing an assortment of players, because there are more foreign players now than there have ever been, that literally no one who's watching the draft has seen play at all?